Hello and welcome to Ticket Manager's All Access interview series, engaging leaders from across the sports marketing spectrum to identify and explore critical issues in the business of sports, entertainment, sponsorship, activation, ticketing, hospitality, and more. I'm your host, Jim Andrews, and joining me on this episode to discuss selling for both championship and, well, let's just say non-championship teams, along with looking at some of the latest developments in ticket sales, is Ben Milsom, Chief Ticketing Officer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Ben, it's great to see you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, happy to do it, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we've got two products of Pittsburgh talking to each other today, but neither one of us is there right now. I wanted to just kind of start off and look at your situation because obviously you're currently overseeing ticket sales for the reigning Super Bowl champions. This is a team that features arguably the greatest NFL player of all time. I was tempted to ask the first question, convince me that you don't have the easiest job in sports, but I know that's not true. And if you look back, 2 years before last season, the Bucs had back-to-back 5-11 seasons. A few years before that, they were 2-14. So I'm curious, just from an overall sales operations perspective, how do you account and plan for basically a product that can change very quickly over the course of just a year or two?
Yeah, we always talk about being playoff win ready and being championship ready because there's so much in our business that we can't control. So for years, we had been going through the team having some challenges on the field, and we just really tried to do as much as we possibly can with our customer interactions, building relationships. We knew that if we got to a point like we did last March, that things were gonna be great, and we were gonna get to where we are today. We couldn't plan for COVID like no one else in this industry, but we tried to hire really great people. We tried to hold our brand in a really high regard. We tried to overdo it with customer service. And so whenever we had to shift, and during COVID, we shifted to where everyone was working from home. So we had the Tom Brady signing and the additions to our players while everyone was at home. Literally that Friday before we made that signing, everyone went home. And so we were just trying to make sure that we were communicating with everyone and making sure that everyone was really safe and had everything that they did to be successul. And credit to my ownership and the leadership here, we were able to do that. We were able to have a lot of success with the news, and so we got to a sellout spot, and then we had to reassess the building. And so we've done that. We've done it all from working from home. But to answer the question more directly, we always had to be ready for this because we were hope. We was hope and optimism the whole time. And we got here, and it's and I think also maybe the pain that we had gone through prior to this success made it that much more worth it.
You and I talked earlier, and you mentioned that the team, the brand, has really gone through an evolution the last few years, and that brings along both challenges and opportunities to change things up, and so I'd love to hear a little bit more just about what that means when you say you went through that evolution. Again, how that impacted your ticket sales operation. And as well as just talking about the marketplace, because obviously that has a big impact on selling, given where you are and both from a competitive standpoint and all of the opportunities that people have to be entertained, if you will, in your area in Florida. So if you can just kind of walk us through the impacts of all of that and eventually on selling tickets.
Yeah, for years, we had always really tried to redefine our brand. And we knew we had a strong brand being an NFL team and being in Florida, but we really just wanted to make sure that whenever it was ready and when the team got better, that we were ready for the bigger stage. Tampa is a very challenging place to sell tickets. There's people that move here for the beaches and for the cost of living. And so when they move here, they come and they bring their affinity for a team like Pittsburgh or Green Bay or New York. And so what we were always trying to do is say, hey, just come and experience our game. We feel really great about our in-game experience. We put $160 million plus into our building a couple of years ago, and we have a really unique stadium and setup. And we also do a really good job of customer service. So that whole time, all we were trying to do is get people to come to one game. And if they came to one game, we felt pretty confident through our processes that we would be able to get them to come to more. And so, but it was really hard to get them to say, all right, for that game, I'm going to not wear the other team's jersey. I'm going to wear a Buccaneers jersey. Well, whenever we signed players and we had success, now there's a lot of those Buccaneers jerseys, and we play next Thursday, and, hopefully there's going to be a lot more Buccaneers jerseys than we've ever had. And for us, what's really important for our brand is that the young kids, the elementary school kids, they're the ones that are saying, yeah, I want a Bucs jersey. Dad, I don't want your Steelers jersey. I want that Bucs jersey. And that's going to help us perpetuate our brand as we go even further. So we had always worked really, really hard to make sure that we did everything in a first-class manner. And whenever you have success, you have to work that much harder to make sure that it's really great still. But our anchors were always really great in-game experience, really great customer service, and making sure that people had a great time when they came out. And so that's what we continue to do. And that's what's made us successful, even through some rougher years.
Yeah, another thing that just occurred to me too, that is specific to time and place for you right now, are the other teams and how well they're doing in your market. Now, going back to, not to reference Pittsburgh one more time, but I grew up when it was the city of champions, because both the Steelers and the Pirates in the 70s had, World Series and Super Bowl appearances. Right now you've got, recent Stanley Cup champions and the Lightning. You've got the Rays being a top team in Major League Baseball. Does that have an impact when all the pro teams in a town are really having a lot of success, whether it's positive or negative?
Yeah, it's been unbelievable. And I tell my son Cooper is 11 years old. I said, Cooper, you have to understand what's going on here. This is not normal, because he's seen the Lightning win back-to-back Stanley Cups. He's seen us win the Super Bowl, host the Super Bowl, and now the Rays are the best team in the American League, right? So all these teams are doing great, and not just good, but really great. So it helps all of us. And you can go to an event in Tampa, a fundraiser, where you're going to see the Stanley Cup, the Super Bowl trophy, the L pennant. That stuff. Once again, it happened whenever we were growing up in Pittsburgh, but it's really, it's interesting, and it doesn't happen a lot to a team where there's so many transplants, right? And so that success, and I work with Rob Higgins, who's on our sports commission, and I'm on the board there, and we're just bursting at the seams of trying to continue this momentum, and trying to get big events. I mean, we hosted WrestleMania as well last year. I mean, there's so many things that are happening. For us, we're just trying to bottle it up as much as we possibly can and just keep it going as much as we can. But once again, it comes down to the youth, and it comes down to the sports fans who maybe a Tampa team might not be your number one team. Well, now you're coming out and you're seeing it, and you're seeing the environment that it's in. We have a chance now. We have a chance now to make Tampa your number one team, and it's really, really exciting.
So it does sound like a situation where the cliche of the rising tide really does lift all boats.
Absolutely. Yep. And it helps too that the economy is good down here. There's companies that are moving to Tampa all the time. The mayor has done a great job of working with companies to bring them to Tampa. The airport is really great. The experience in Tampa is almost surreal, because you can fly. I've had people tell me in New York, they say it's easier for me to get on a plane and fly to Tampa to catch a game than it is for me to see a game maybe in my own city. And so that's really interesting. But the city has all worked together to make it really great, and to have great restaurants and hotels. And that's what we just keep trying to do, is get people to Tampa and have a great experience and then come back.
I'd like to kind of broaden the perspective and talk a little bit about just the industry as a whole, and I'd love to get your take on just kind of the near-term future for ticket sales and ticketing. There's so many developments, all kinds of third parties, large companies, smaller ones that are becoming involved in the space. You've got all kinds of new technology developments like NFTs that could eventually play a part in ticketing. So I'd love to hear, from a veteran like yourself, what's your view on our ticketing business, and where do you think it's headed?
Yeah, now more than ever, you really have to pay attention to everything that's going on. And you have to pay attention to what's going on in sports, but in concerts, in amusement parks. because there is so much that's happening in that space. And at the end of the day, too, you also want to make sure that what you're doing or putting out or creating is resonating with the consumer, because we can all have these really great ideas, but if they go out and they're not, people aren't engaging with them and aren't using them, and then it can be hard. I think for ticketing, what has been true 20 years ago till now is people just want things to be easy. We developed a few years ago an area that's all inclusive in our stadium, and it was during the team wasn't maybe that good, but the concept was really great, and we did it slowly, and it was easy. And people want to get from their home to their cars. They want to park. They want to get into the stadium, and then they want things to be easy. And all inclusive does that. We see more and more of this happening in our industry, and it's nothing new. It's been happening for a long time. But when we really embraced that and made everything included in the ticket, that was great. And so, but you've gone through this evolution of ticket stubs to cards to mobile, and then what is next, right? What is going to be the next evolution? So that's been really interesting. The other interesting part about it is when you're developing these types of technologies and you're looking to roll it out into your marketplace, there's this apprehension that, I don't know if people are going to get that. I don't know if they're going to really like using a card as opposed to a ticket, or their phone as opposed to a card. And eventually they do. People adapt. I don't know if we give the consumer enough credit for how they can approach things, but it's all about ease. It's about ease of purchase, ease of entry, and ease of enjoyment. And that's really what it comes down to.
Sometimes when we talk about whether it's partnership sales or premium seats and suites and things like that, it really does come down to relationships, and a lot of the conversations I think we have, it almost sounds like we're doing kind of personal counseling. We talk about improving relationships and communications, but I think it really is all kind of the same. So in that vein, what would you like the companies who are buying your suites and premium seating to understand about your organization in order to help kind of build that relationship and make sure it's a smooth one?
Yeah, I mean, we work really hard. I mean, that, and it's cliche to say, but we really do. We care deeply about not only the last person in the building, but the person who's buying a sponsorship from us. And we ask a lot of questions. We really want to listen, as opposed to saying, here's our sponsorship package or our suite package or our season ticket package. We ask a lot of questions, and in that, we can find out, okay, if you're maybe purchasing for your company, but maybe there's a personal interest as well, or you're purchasing for your family, but maybe there's a company interest as well. I think there's a lot of times that we call it, there's a lot of meat left on the bone whenever you're going through the sales process, where if you would just ask some people, hey, where are you from? Or, what did you do before this? Or what do you like to do in your spare time? You can just uncover so many more things. And that one question can go forever. You and I talked earlier about us both being from Pittsburgh. You and I can talk for an hour about Pittsburgh, and it's going to bring us closer, right? And so, and especially being in a transient town, that question comes up a lot. Where are you from, right? Because it's not just, well, everyone's from Tampa. And then so you just learn. And as we learn through those sales processes, I think we get better at that. I think we get better at customizing packages for the end user. There's a lot of times I've been in processes where it's, okay, here's our product. We're super excited about it. And especially if the product's going really well, that salesperson gets super excited about it and almost force things at people, as opposed to just sitting back from a humble standpoint and say, hey, listen, here's what we do, but tell me a little bit more about you. And it's also fun whenever people are caught off guard about that, because they're used to being on the defensive about this sales pitch that they're going to get. But we come in and we ask them about themselves and their families and their likes and interests, and it ends up getting to a really great spot.
Yeah. Kind of turning that around, are there questions that you would like buyers and potential buyers to ask of you and your team in order to, again, kind of build that understanding? And maybe it could be about personal issues, but maybe things that they should understand about stadium operations or things that might make everybody's job easier.
Yeah, and I love it whenever customers come back to us and maybe ask, what's the most unique thing you've done for a customer? Or what is something super special you've done for one of your clients and customers? It doesn't get asked a lot, but I love whenever it does come up, because then it gives me that opportunity to then talk a lot more, which I want to tell our story. I want to tell all the work that goes into us being number one in the NFL in customer service, or all the work that goes into us securing 22 sponsorship deals over the last year. I don't want to throw that out in the front end, but
Right.
if they ask me, then it's okay. Well, thank you for asking that question. Let me go into it a little bit, and then I'm able to dive deeper and tell them a little bit more about our brand. But like I said, for us, we are constantly evaluating everything we're doing. We're testing everything, we're surveying everything, and we're not resting. And so when people say, "Oh yeah, you won the Super Bowl and everything's great and easy now," it's like, well, it's better, but we're continuing to work hard to make sure that we keep that high level, and that's what the whole organization wants.
You've been you have a great reputation as a leader in our industry. You've hired, trained, mentored, many people throughout your career in the different places you've been. And certainly, there've been a lot of changes over those last couple of decades in terms of workplace environment, corporate culture, the expectations that people have now when they are hired and join an organization. So I would love to have your advice for both the younger people who are seeking to advance in their careers, but also as well for other managers and leaders like yourself who are trying to meet the needs of a new generation of employees. What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's really one word. It's patience. I mean, I think even prior to the current shift in how things have been, we as workers and bosses or mentors or employees, we have to be more patient. And we have to ask a lot more questions. If someone shows up late for a meeting, it could be very easy to call them up and give them business on, hey, why were you late? What's going on? And maybe see it as being disrespectful, but you never know that person might be dealing with something in their personal life, or they might have been in a car accident, or something's going on. So I think it's, in terms of career growth and development, it's our industry has a tendency to put people on these fast treadmills and just to keep it going. And you have to have a promotion very soon and quick all the time. But usually what I've seen is that people that are patient and they are in constant communication with their supervisors and are really honest and transparent are the ones that do grow and advance. And it might not be always on your time, but I think people value that. They value people that are willing to be patient with things and patient with people, and it works out. We've been really lucky. I've had people that have been here for over 10 years working for us, and that makes me really proud. I mean, they've done a really good job, and they've held up their side, but we're also looking to try to take care of them and make sure that they're having good lives outside of the organization.
I had an interesting conversation just a couple of days ago with somebody who's been around the business for a long time, and he was expressing the concern on his part that he was like, I'm not sure my experience when I was just starting out is relevant anymore because of that things are so different now. I'd love to get your take on that. Do you feel that way? Is it harder to kind of connect and say, well, here's an experience that I had because it was 20 years ago and things were so different, or not so much?
You know what? A lot of it's still the same as those traits and characteristics. If you work hard, if you're nice to people, if you invest in other people, and you have really good open dialogue, I think that's still going to carry the day. And at the end of the day, yeah, is there things that we all need to learn and adjust along the way? Absolutely. But you know what? I've also found out that I learn a lot from my entry level salespeople that are just coming out of school. I enjoy sitting down with coffee or lunch with them and just saying, hey, what do I need to know? And I leave that 2 hour long discussion saying, man, I get it now. Now I need to go and look at that, And so I think that we as leaders can't just say that we have it all figured out and we know everything, because we really don't, because things are changing all the time. I have some people on my staff that are super passionate about gaming and are super passionate about, the NFT situation that's going on. And so I'll sit down and ask them, tell me about it, and who does this really well. But not everyone's like that. Everyone thinks they may have it figured out and that they don't need to do that. But I really like having those conversations, and gives me a little bit more street credit with my staff too.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think anybody in this day and age that thinks they have it all figured out and can't learn from younger generations is probably not going to be too successful.
Right. I agree.
Well, Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know we're at the beginning of the season, and I'm sure things are cooking as you're getting ready for kickoff next week. And really, again, appreciate you spending a few minutes with us today, and look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks so much, Jim. I enjoyed it.
All right. On behalf of everyone at Ticket Manager, thank all of you for watching. And please join us again next time for the next episode in our All Access interview series.